In the vast and sprawling imperium of man, where devotion to the Emperor is both a virtue and a necessity, the flicker of forbidden faith lingers in the darkest corners. Chaos cults, clandestine gatherings of heretical worshippers, represent one of the greatest internal threats to the Imperium's fragile unity. These insidious groups, driven by devotion to the ruinous powers of chaos, operate in the shadows of hive cities, on forgotten worlds, and even within the gilded halls of imperial governance. But what is it that truly defines the activities of these cults, and why do they endure despite relentless purges? To understand the activities of chaos cults, one must first appreciate the nature of chaos itself. The warp, the imperium, is a swirling tempest of psychic energy and emotion, inhabited by godlike entities of unfathomable malevolence. These entities, the chaos gods, Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh, feed on the passions and fears of mortals. Through promises of power, liberation, or forbidden knowledge, they seduce the weak and the desperate, pulling them into their dark embrace. Chaos cults are the earthly manifestation of this influence, their members the willing instruments of their masters' inscrutable designs. The activities of chaos cults are as varied as the motivations of their dark patrons. Some operate as sleeper cells, their true allegiance hidden until the moment is ripe to strike. Others are anarchic mobs, wreaking havoc in the name of destruction and despair. Many masquerade as seemingly innocuous organizations, a charitable society, a local workers' union, or even a religious sect, while secretly serving the dark agenda of chaos. Their methods are subtle, their aims often incomprehensible to outsiders, yet their impact can be devastating. In the heart of a hive city, where billions toil in squalor, a chaos cult might begin as a group of disillusioned workers gathering to share grievances. A charismatic leader, imbued with the whispers of chaos, promises them a better life, free from the oppressive yoke of the Imperium. These promises might start small, better working conditions, a sense of community, but they inevitably escalate. Soon, the group's chants turn into hymns of blasphemy, their meetings into rituals of blood and sacrifice. Before long, the cult's true nature reveals itself as its members march through the underhive, banners raised, chanting the names of their dark gods. The impact of chaos cults extends beyond their immediate actions. They serve as vectors for the corruption of the warp, their rituals tearing at the fabric of reality and inviting demonic incursions. They sow dissent and undermine the Imperium's authority, turning populations against their overseers and leaving worlds vulnerable to invasion. Worse still, they act as gateways for chaos to infiltrate every level of imperial society. From the lowliest hive worker to the highest-ranking planetary governor, none are immune to the allure of the ruinous powers. The Imperium's response to chaos cults is brutal and unrelenting. The Inquisition, the Adeptus Arbites, and the Adeptus Sororitas launch purges that leave entire city blocks or even planets reduced to ash. Yet for every cult crushed, another arises, fed by the endless supply of discontent and ambition that festers in the Imperium's underbelly. Chaos is a hydra, and its heads are legion. The story of chaos cults is one of despair and defiance, of humanity's eternal struggle against its own darker impulses. They are the mirror held up to the Imperium, reflecting the cracks in its foundation and the hypocrisies of its rule. To confront them is to confront the truths that the Imperium seeks to bury, truths that, if left unchecked, could spell its doom. With this understanding, let us delve deeper into the shadowy world of chaos cults. Who are the key players that drive their insidious agendas, and how do their dark machinations shape the galaxy? The chaos cults are as diverse as the galaxy itself, each shaped by the whims of the ruinous powers, the circumstances of their formation, and the individuals who drive their agendas. At the heart of every cult lies a tapestry of key players, each with a distinct role in spreading corruption and chaos. These figures range from the charismatic and cunning to the utterly monstrous, all united by their devotion to chaos and their willingness to shatter the Imperium's order. The cult leader stands at the apex of the group's hierarchy. Often a gifted orator or manipulative schemer, this individual becomes the face and voice of the cult. Whether a disgraced noble, a rogue psyker, or an embittered soldier, the leader embodies the cult's purpose and mission. They are the ones who interpret the will of the Chaos Gods, rally followers to their cause, and conduct dark rituals to ensure their master's favor. Many such leaders are directly influenced, or even possessed, by demons, granting them unnatural charisma and power. These figures often meet their end in dramatic confrontations with the Imperium, though their legacy may linger, inspiring future heretics. Beneath the leader are the lieutenants or enforcers of the cult. These individuals manage the cult's daily operations, ensuring that its goals are pursued with ruthless efficiency. Often former gang leaders, mercenaries, or experienced administrators, these lieutenants bring structure to the chaos. They organize supply chains for weapons and resources, oversee recruitment efforts, and enforce discipline among the ranks. Many are drawn to the cult by promises of power or revenge, becoming true believers as their influence grows. These lieutenants are vital to the cult's survival, ensuring it remains functional even under intense scrutiny. The ritualists or spiritual leaders of the cult are its connection to the warp. These individuals are often psychers, witches, or those deeply versed in the forbidden lore of chaos. They conduct the dark ceremonies that draw the attention of the ruinous powers, summoning demons and imbuing cult members with unholy gifts. Their rituals are as varied as the gods they serve: blood sacrifices for Khorne, intricate scheming for Tzeentch, pestilent blessings for Nurgle, or depraved excesses for Slaanesh. While their power is essential to the cult's connection to chaos, their activities are also its greatest risk, as they can attract the attention of imperial authorities or uncontrolled demonic forces. Another critical component is the recruiter, a figure tasked with bringing new members into the fold. These individuals are often former victims of the Imperium's harsh policies, skilled manipulators who exploit discontent and despair. In hive cities, recruiters whisper promises of freedom to oppressed workers. On agri-worlds, they speak of liberation from crushing tithes. Among the elite, they offer forbidden pleasures and knowledge. Their success lies in their ability to present the cult not as a heretical movement, but as a salvation from the Imperium's tyranny. The cult's warriors or combatants form its muscle, enabling it to enforce its will and challenge Imperial forces. These members are often drawn from the most brutal elements of society: gangs, deserters, or those driven mad by the warp's touch. Armed with scavenged weapons, their ferocity often compensates for their lack of training. When blessed by the Chaos Gods, they can become even deadlier, wielding unholy strength or abilities that defy natural law. While many of these fighters are expendable, others rise to prominence as champions, figures whose deeds inspire fear and awe in equal measure. Agents and spies infiltrate imperial institutions, feeding information to the cult and sabotaging efforts to root them out. These operatives can be anyone: a humble administrative clerk, a disillusioned Arbeitsofficer, or even a member of the ecclesiarchy. Their work is subtle but critical, from falsifying records to concealing evidence of heresy. The most skilled agents operate for years undetected, undermining the Imperium from within while ensuring their cult survives. The most terrifying members of chaos cults, however, are the demon hosts, or individuals wholly consumed by the warp. These unfortunate souls serve as living vessels for demonic entities, their bodies twisted and minds shattered. While their presence often spells doom for the cult, drawing the wrath of Inquisitors and Space Marines alike, their destructive potential cannot be overstated. A single demon host can decimate entire squads of Imperial forces, its mere existence a testament to the cult's connection to chaos. Beyond these individuals, the rank-and-file members of the cult, often referred to as acolytes or followers, are its lifeblood. These individuals are the desperate, the disillusioned, or the ambitious, lured by promises of power, revenge, or escape. While many remain unaware of the true nature of their masters until it is too late, others fully embrace the heretical doctrines, becoming fervent believers in the Chaos Gods. Their numbers often swell rapidly as each new convert brings their family, friends, or co-workers into the fold. Lastly, the Dark Benefactors, often demons or warp-touched entities, serve as the unseen hands guiding the cult. These beings rarely interact directly, but instead provide visions, blessings, or curses that shape the cult's actions. Their motivations are inscrutable, even to their most devoted followers, and their gifts often come at a terrible cost. These benefactors ensure the cult remains aligned with the will of chaos, even as they manipulate it for their own ends. Together, these key players form a complex web of influence and corruption, ensuring the cult thrives in the shadows of the Imperium. While their roles may vary, their goal is always the same: to spread the taint of chaos and hasten the fall of mankind's last bastion. The origins of chaos cults lie in the intricate interplay of human suffering, ambition, and the ever-present influence of the warp. Their emergence is not an isolated phenomenon, but a product of the Imperium's oppressive structure and the inherent vulnerability of humanity to the seductive power of chaos. To understand why these heretical groups form, one must explore the social, psychological, and metaphysical forces that pave the way for their existence. One of the most significant factors contributing to the rise of chaos cults is the unforgiving nature of life within the Imperium. Billions live in abject poverty, toiling in the depths of hive cities, their lives defined by ceaseless labor and despair. On Forge worlds, workers are little more than extensions of their machines, while on agri-worlds, entire generations are spent harvesting crops for distant masters. This relentless grind fosters a deep-seated resentment toward the Imperium, creating fertile ground for rebellion. Chaos exploits this discontent, offering an alternative to the bleak existence enforced by Imperial rule. At the heart of this vulnerability is the Imperium's dogmatic control over information and faith. The ecclesiarchy, which enforces worship of the Emperor, tolerates no deviation from its rigid orthodoxy. The suppression of alternative ideas and the harsh punishment of dissent ensure that heretical thoughts fester in secrecy. For many, chaos represents a forbidden allure, a source of knowledge and freedom denied to them by the Imperium. The promise of liberation, whether intellectual, spiritual, or physical, is a potent catalyst for rebellion, and chaos cults thrive in these shadows of repression. Another critical precursor to the formation of chaos cults is the psychic nature of humanity. The emergence of psychers, individuals capable of interacting with the warp, is both a blessing and a curse for mankind. While some psychers are sanctioned by the Imperium and trained to serve as astropaths or battle-ready sorcerers, countless others are left unprotected and untrained. These rogue psychers are particularly vulnerable to the whispers of chaos, their abilities making them both powerful assets and dangerous liabilities. In many cases, cults form around such individuals, who act as conduits for the will of the Chaos Gods, binding their followers with unholy power. Beyond individual suffering and psychic vulnerability, the broader structure of the Imperium itself contributes to the formation of chaos cults. The Imperium's vast bureaucracy, its endless wars, and its unyielding demands on its citizens create countless opportunities for corruption. Planetary governors, military commanders, and even low-level officials are often forced to make compromises to maintain order or achieve personal ambitions. These compromises can lead to heretical bargains, where chaos offers the tools necessary to achieve one's goals, at a price. Over time, such bargains grow into full-fledged cults as more individuals are drawn into the web of corruption. The influence of chaos is not limited to those who actively seek it out. Many chaos cults begin unintentionally, their founders unaware of the dark forces at play. Warp storms and demonic incursions can disrupt reality, leaving entire populations exposed to the corrupting influence of the warp. In the aftermath of such events, survivors may cling to any explanation or guidance, even if it comes from malevolent sources. Rituals meant to appease unseen forces, prayers for deliverance, and acts of desperation can all spiral into full-fledged worship of chaos. Additionally, chaos cults often find fertile ground in the aftermath of war and disaster. The Imperium's wars leave countless worlds devastated, their populations reduced to desperation. Reconstruction is slow, and the Imperium's resources are often spread too thin to provide meaningful aid. In such environments, cult leaders emerge as saviors, offering hope and security in exchange for loyalty. The more the Imperium abandons its people, the more they turn to chaos for salvation, seeking meaning in the chaos of their shattered lives. Another significant driver of chaos cult formation is the promise of power and personal freedom. The rigid hierarchy of the Imperium leaves little room for individual ambition, particularly for those born into lowly circumstances. Chaos, in contrast, promises that anyone, no matter how insignificant, can achieve greatness. Whether through martial prowess, forbidden knowledge, or debased pleasures, the ruinous powers reward their followers with opportunities denied to them by imperial society. This allure is particularly strong among the downtrodden, who see chaos as their only path to transcendence. The influence of chaos is also propagated through artifacts and relics of the Old Night, remnants of humanity's dark history before the rise of the Imperium. These objects, imbued with the power of the warp, are often discovered in forgotten vaults or unearthed during archaeological expeditions. Even the act of studying such artifacts can corrupt the minds of those involved, leading them to question the Imperium's teachings and embrace heresy. Entire cults have formed around such discoveries, their members drawn to the forbidden knowledge these artifacts represent. Finally, the existence of chaos cults is perpetuated by the nature of chaos itself. Unlike the Imperium, which demands blind obedience, chaos thrives on individuality and excess. The chaos gods feed on the emotions and desires of their followers, encouraging them to embrace their darkest instincts. This empowerment comes at a cost, but for many, the opportunity to break free from the constraints of imperial life is worth the risk. As long as humanity continues to suffer under the weight of its own empire, chaos will find willing servants to carry out its will. In some, chaos cults are not merely the product of external manipulation, but arise from the cracks within the Imperium itself. The suffering, ambition, and desperation that define so much of human existence create an environment where the ruinous powers can thrive. The Imperium's failures, its oppression, its hypocrisy, and its inability to protect its citizens are the true seeds of heresy, ensuring that chaos will always find a foothold in the hearts of men. The growth of a chaos cult follows a path of corruption and escalation, moving through distinct phases that reflect its evolution from a small, secretive gathering into a full-fledged force of heresy. Each stage of development is marked by shifts in purpose, structure, and methods, driven by the cult's connection to the ruinous powers and its response to the pressures of imperial suppression. The initial formation of a chaos cult often begins with a small group of disillusioned or ambitious individuals. This stage is marked by secrecy and subtlety as the cult's founders work to create an environment where their heretical beliefs can take root. Early activities might include quiet gatherings to discuss grievances against the Imperium, share forbidden knowledge, or participate in rudimentary rituals. At this point, the cult's members may not even fully understand the nature of chaos. Many see their actions as rebellion against oppression or a quest for enlightenment, unaware of the darker forces they are inviting into their lives. The role of the cult's leader is pivotal in this stage. A charismatic figure emerges, often someone with a personal vendetta against the Imperium or an innate connection to the warp. This leader begins to consolidate influence, persuading others to join through promises of power, freedom, or purpose. In the shadows, the cult's first rituals are conducted, small, experimental acts designed to test the waters of the warp's influence. These rituals, often crude and incomplete, still carry enough potency to draw the attention of the Chaos Gods, who begin to take an interest in the cult's growth. Once a small core of dedicated members is established, the cult moves into a phase of expansion and recruitment. The cult's leadership focuses on attracting new followers, targeting the disillusioned, the desperate, and the ambitious. Recruitment methods vary depending on the cult's environment. In hive cities, recruiters might infiltrate worker unions or criminal gangs, while in more remote areas, they might masquerade as religious or social reformers. The promises they make are tailored to the needs and desires of their audience, ensuring that the cult appears as a solution to their woes rather than a threat. During this phase, the cult begins to establish a more formal hierarchy. Leadership roles are defined, and new members are assigned tasks based on their skills and loyalty. Some are trained as enforcers to protect the cult from external threats, while others are taught the basics of ritual practice. The cult's structure becomes more robust, enabling it to sustain itself and continue its growth despite potential setbacks. As the cult expands, it transitions into the consolidation of power phase. Having amassed a substantial following, the cult begins to exert influence over its local environment. This might involve taking control of a gang, infiltrating a planetary government, or establishing dominance over a specific sector of a hive city. At this stage, the cult's activities become more coordinated and strategic, with members carrying out acts of sabotage, assassination, or propaganda to weaken the Imperium's hold on the region. This phase also sees the cult's rituals become more elaborate and dangerous. As its connection to the Chaos Gods deepens, the cult gains access to forbidden knowledge and unholy powers. Ceremonies that were once simple expressions of defiance now involve blood sacrifices, invocations to the warp, and attempts to summon demons. These rituals not only strengthen the cult's bond with chaos, but also provide tangible benefits, such as enhanced abilities for its members or the creation of warp-infused weapons and artifacts. However, as the cult grows in power, it inevitably attracts the attention of the Imperium. This marks the beginning of the confrontation and conflict phase, where the cult's activities come into direct opposition with Imperial forces. Local Arbites, Inquisitors, or even planetary defense forces may launch investigations or purges to root out the heresy. The cult, now fully aware of the danger it faces, becomes increasingly militant and aggressive. Its members take up arms, using guerrilla tactics and sabotage to undermine their enemies. During this phase, internal tensions often arise within the cult. The stresses of open conflict, combined with the corrupting influence of chaos, can lead to power struggles and betrayal. Some members may question their loyalty, while others are consumed by the blessings, or curses, bestowed by the Chaos Gods. Despite these challenges, the cult's most devoted followers become even more fanatical, willing to sacrifice everything for their dark masters. If the cult survives its initial confrontations with Imperial forces, it may enter the ascension or collapse phase. In some cases, the cult achieves its ultimate goal, whether it be the successful summoning of a demon prince, the overthrow of a planetary government, or the unleashing of a warp-based catastrophe. These victories, however, often come at great cost. The cult may be destroyed in the process, its members consumed by the powers they sought to serve. In other cases, the cult collapses under the weight of its own excesses, torn apart by infighting or obliterated by an overwhelming Imperial response. For the rare cults that endure, this phase represents a transformation. No longer a mere group of heretics, they become something far greater, a chaos warband, a demon-worshipping enclave, or even the foundation of a chaos-aligned civilization. These ascended cults often leave their homeworlds behind, seeking refuge in the Eye of Terror or other warp-tainted regions where they can serve chaos without interference. The evolution of a chaos cult is a tale of ambition, corruption, and destruction. From humble beginnings to apocalyptic ends, these groups embody the insidious nature of chaos itself, growing stronger through the exploitation of human weakness and the relentless pursuit of forbidden power. Their life cycle, though often brief, leave scars on the galaxy that endure for millennia, ensuring that even their failures serve the ruinous power's greater plans. Throughout the history of the Imperium, chaos cults have been at the center of some of the most devastating and insidious events in the galaxy. These heretical factions have a unique ability to destabilize worlds, corrupt entire populations, and serve as catalysts for larger incursions of chaos. Key events involving chaos cults demonstrate their capacity for both subtle manipulation and outright destruction, each leaving an indelible mark on the galaxy. One of the most infamous examples of chaos cult activity is the Galenian Secession, a rebellion that consumed the hive world of Galen V. Initially sparked by a workers' strike protesting brutal working conditions, the rebellion rapidly escalated as agitators with ties to a local chaos cult infiltrated the movement. By the time the planetary governor attempted to negotiate, the cult had turned the protests into a full-scale uprising, with cultists summoning warp-born horrors to aid their cause. The rebellion culminated in the summoning of a demon prince, requiring the intervention of an entire Adeptus Astartes chapter to reclaim the planet. Even after the cult was destroyed, the scars of the event left Galen V's population deeply fractured, sowing distrust that persists to this day. Another pivotal event was the fall of Elathra, a frontier agri-world once lauded for its abundance and devotion to the imperial creed. What began as a minor dispute over tithes quickly spiraled out of control when a local chaos cult exploited the discontent of impoverished farmers. The cult promised liberation from imperial oppression, rallying an army of desperate and downtrodden peasants. Their leader, a rogue psyker claiming to channel the will of the gods, conducted rituals that warped Elathra's fertile plains into nightmarish landscapes of decay. By the time the Imperium responded, much of the planet had been consumed by the influence of Nurgle, forcing the Inquisition to declare exterminatus, erasing all life on the world. In the segmentum known as the Gilded Reach, chaos cults have repeatedly infiltrated powerful merchant houses, destabilizing entire trade networks. One such event, the Tides of Spite, involved the cult known as the Daggered Veil, which embedded itself within the ruling elite of a prosperous hive world. By the time the cult's influence was uncovered, it had already manipulated planetary leaders into betraying vital trade routes, starving neighboring systems of critical supplies. This act of sabotage led to riots, planetary coups, and widespread suffering across the sector. The Daggered Veil's final act was to summon a demon host during a diplomatic summit, slaughtering dozens of key imperial officials and leaving the sector vulnerable to pirate raids for decades. The Kursk Uprising is another example of the destructive potential of chaos cults. A seemingly minor mining colony on the edge of the maelstrom, Kursk became the stage for an insurrection fueled by the cult known as the Crimson Maw. What began as minor acts of sabotage grew into a planet-wide rebellion as the cult exploited tensions between miners and their overseers. The Crimson Maw's rituals caused seismic upheavals, collapsing mines and summoning bloodthirsty warp entities. The rebellion forced the deployment of several regiments of the Astra Militarum and a detachment of Adepta Sororitas. Even with overwhelming force, the campaign lasted years as the cult's followers fought with fanatical zeal, emboldened by the blessings of Khorne. The Night of 1,000 Woes on Verdanth Prime serves as a chilling reminder of how chaos cults exploit seemingly peaceful worlds. Verdanth Prime was a utopian agri-world known for its tranquility and obedience to the imperial creed. Unbeknownst to its rulers, a chaos cult operating under the guise of a benign philosophical movement had infiltrated the planet's upper echelons. The cult orchestrated a series of events that culminated in a massive festival where the populace gathered in celebration. During the festivities, the cult enacted a ritual that opened a warp rift, unleashing demonic legions onto the unsuspecting population. The once idyllic planet became a war zone overnight, its verdant fields transformed into battlefields littered with the remains of imperial loyalists and cultists alike. Perhaps one of the most insidious acts of chaos cults is their role in weakening imperial defenses from within. The fall of Catalan illustrates this perfectly. As a fortress world guarding a vital warp route, Catalan was a bulwark against chaos incursions. Yet, over decades, a chaos cult known as the Whispered Truth embedded itself within the planet's military hierarchy. Through subtle sabotage, misinformation, and psychological manipulation, the cult gradually eroded the planet's ability to defend itself. When a chaos fleet finally emerged from the warp, Catalan's defenses collapsed almost instantly, with the cult emerging to greet their demonic allies. The fall of Catalan not only cost the Imperium a strategic stronghold, but also destabilized the surrounding sector, leading to further incursions. The desolation of Archaon's hope is a grim testament to the long-term consequences of unchecked chaos cult activity. Initially a prosperous colony world, Archaon's hope became a haven for a chaos cult masquerading as a workers' cooperative. Over decades, the cult corrupted every level of society, from the lowest laborer to the highest planetary official. By the time the Inquisition discovered the heresy, the cult had already transformed the planet into a living altar to Slaanesh. Purging the world required the deployment of multiple Space Marine chapters and the complete annihilation of the planet's population. Even then, the cult's legacy endured, as corrupted artifacts and warp phenomena continued to plague the region for centuries. These events showcase the far-reaching impact of chaos cults on the galaxy. From planetary uprisings to sector-wide destabilizations, their activities are a constant reminder of the Imperium's fragility and the ever-present threat of chaos. Each cult is a manifestation of humanity's darkest impulses, exploiting weaknesses in the Imperium's structure and sowing seeds of corruption that can take generations to eradicate. Despite the relentless efforts of the Inquisition and the Adeptus Astartes, the specter of chaos cults remains a persistent and insidious force in the Imperium, ready to strike wherever vigilance falters. The impact of chaos cults on the Warhammer 40k universe is profound and multifaceted, shaping events across the Imperium and beyond. Their influence goes beyond the immediate destruction they cause, leaving lasting scars on the physical, social, and metaphysical fabric of the galaxy. Chaos cults are not mere rebellions. They are agents of entropy, spreading corruption and destabilization wherever they emerge. At the most immediate level, chaos cults destabilize planets and systems, undermining the Imperium's fragile hold on its worlds. A single cult can sow chaos across an entire hive city, disrupting production lines, assassinating key figures, and inciting uprisings. These actions weaken Imperial infrastructure, reduce the efficiency of tithes, and leave critical sectors vulnerable to further incursions. Entire worlds have fallen into rebellion due to the machinations of these cults, requiring significant resources to bring them back under control, or resulting in their permanent loss to chaos or exterminatus. On a galactic scale, chaos cults serve as the precursors to larger warp-based incursions, acting as conduits through which the ruinous powers manifest their will. Cult rituals, blood sacrifices, and other blasphemous activities create ripples in the warp that can tear through the veil between dimensions, allowing demonic entities to spill into real space. Even seemingly minor rituals can attract the attention of greater demons, whose arrival can escalate a localized rebellion into a sector-wide catastrophe. These incursions often destabilize entire regions, forcing the Imperium to divert fleets and regiments to contain the threat. Beyond their direct actions, chaos cults leave a lasting psychological and cultural impact on the populations they touch. Survivors of cult-led uprisings or demonic incursions are often left deeply scarred, both mentally and spiritually. The mere exposure to warp entities can drive individuals to madness, creating a ripple effect of instability long after the cult itself has been purged. The fear and paranoia that follow such events can disrupt governance, turning once loyal populations into hotbeds of suspicion and distrust. This erosion of societal cohesion weakens the Imperium's ability to maintain control and foster unity among its citizens. The corruption of individuals in positions of power is another key consequence of chaos cult activity. Through bribery, blackmail, or subtle manipulation, cults infiltrate planetary governments, military organizations, and even the ecclesiarchy itself. These corrupted officials become unwitting or willing agents of chaos, undermining the imperium from within. In some cases, entire planetary leaderships have been subverted, leaving their worlds open to chaos invasion or rebellion. Such corruption is insidious, as it often goes unnoticed until the damage is irreparable. One of the most significant effects of chaos cults is their ability to spread warp corruption across physical environments. Through their rituals and sacrifices, cults can taint entire regions, transforming once thriving areas into warp-twisted wastelands. Crops wither, machinery malfunctions, and wildlife becomes grotesquely mutated. These corrupted zones act as permanent scars on the planets they afflict, often requiring extensive purges by the Adeptus Mechanicus or complete abandonment. Such blighted regions serve as reminders of the cult's influence long after they have been eradicated. The military and logistical strain chaos cults place on the Imperium cannot be overstated. Even a minor cult uprising can require the deployment of Astra Militarum regiments, Adeptus Arbites enforcers, and, in extreme cases, Space Marine chapters. The effort to root out cult activity and restore order is resource-intensive, diverting attention from external threats like xenos invasions or major chaos incursions. This strain compounds over time, as the Imperium's resources are finite, and every battle fought against a cult is one less fought on a distant front. Chaos cults also act as catalysts for wider heresy, inspiring other groups to rise against the Imperium. Their actions can embolden other discontented factions, such as rogue psychers, mutant enclaves, or even ordinary citizens who see the cults as symbols of defiance against their oppressors. This domino effect can lead to widespread anarchy, destabilizing entire sectors and forcing the Imperium to expend massive resources on containment efforts. The ideological spread of chaos cults is as dangerous as their physical presence, as their existence challenges the imperial creed and fosters rebellion. Perhaps the most profound and far-reaching impact of chaos cults is their role in strengthening the ruinous powers themselves. Every act of violence, every prayer uttered, and every soul claimed in the name of chaos feeds the warp. The gods of chaos thrive on the emotions and actions of their followers, growing stronger with each cult's success. This feedback loop ensures that even the smallest cults contribute to the grander schemes of chaos, empowering the warp and its denizens to greater heights of power. The erosion of trust and stability within the Imperium is another enduring consequence of chaos cult activity. Each discovered cult, no matter how small, reminds the Imperium of its vulnerability to internal threats. This breeds an atmosphere of paranoia and fear, where loyalty is constantly questioned and citizens live under the watchful eyes of the ecclesiarchy and the Inquisition. While these measures are necessary for survival, they also create a climate of repression that can drive more individuals into the arms of chaos, perpetuating the cycle of rebellion and suppression. Finally, chaos cults serve as a stark reminder of the Imperium's inherent flaws. Their very existence highlights the suffering, inequality, and corruption that define life under imperial rule. Chaos cults exploit these weaknesses, using them as tools to spread their influence. In doing so, they force the Imperium to confront the reality of its own failings, a reality that it often chooses to ignore or suppress. The influence of chaos cults reverberates across the galaxy, touching every level of society and leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Whether through direct violence, subtle manipulation, or the spread of warp corruption, these heretical factions embody the insidious nature of chaos itself. Their impact is both immediate and enduring, ensuring that the scars they leave behind will continue to shape the galaxy for millennia to come. So chaos cults are distinguished by their unique characteristics, which set them apart from other heretical or rebellious groups within the Imperium. These aspects stem from their deep connection to the ruinous powers and their ability to adapt to the diverse conditions of the galaxy. Each cult is a reflection of the chaos gods they serve, their methods and objectives shaped by their patrons' desires and the circumstances of their formation. One of the most striking features of chaos cults is their adaptive and decentralized nature. Unlike the rigid hierarchies of imperial institutions, chaos cults thrive on flexibility. This allows them to flourish in environments as varied as hive cities, agri-worlds, and even void stations. Each cult tailors its methods to suit its surroundings, whether by infiltrating a guild, posing as a religious movement, or taking the guise of a workers' revolt. This adaptability makes them incredibly difficult to detect and root out, as no two cults operate in exactly the same way. The diversity of their membership is another unique aspect of chaos cults. Members come from all walks of life: factory workers, noble elites, disgraced soldiers, rogue psychers, and more. This diversity reflects the universal appeal of chaos, which offers something to anyone willing to listen. For the downtrodden, it promises liberation. For the ambitious, power. For the curious, forbidden knowledge. The mix of backgrounds within a single cult creates a volatile dynamic, where alliances and rivalries constantly shift, driven by the desires of the individuals and the whims of their dark gods. A particularly distinctive feature of chaos cults is their ritualistic practices, which range from the grotesquely elaborate to the deceptively simple. Each ritual is a means of connecting with the warp, whether through blood sacrifices, ecstatic dances, or intricate spells. These practices are not just symbolic, but often produce tangible results, such as the summoning of demons or the infusion of warp energy into weapons and artifacts. The rituals vary widely depending on the cult's patron. A cult devoted to Khorne might engage in brutal combat rites, while a Slaanesh-aligned group might indulge in hedonistic ceremonies of excess. These rituals serve as both spiritual acts and tools for gaining power, making them central to a cult's identity. The use of deception and subversion is a hallmark of chaos cult operations. Many cults operate under false identities, masquerading as charitable organizations, political movements, or even imperial loyalist groups. This ability to blend into society allows them to spread their influence unnoticed until it is too late. Cultists often infiltrate key positions within a planet's infrastructure, ensuring that when the time comes to strike, they can paralyze their enemies through sabotage or misdirection. This covert approach makes chaos cults one of the most insidious threats to the Imperium. Chaos cults also exhibit a unique relationship with the warp, which manifests in both blessings and curses. The closer a cult grows to its patron god, the more it becomes influenced by the warp's mutating energy. Members might develop strange powers, such as enhanced strength, psychic abilities, or unnerving charisma as a reward for their devotion. However, these gifts often come with a cost. Mutations, insanity, and uncontrollable warp phenomena are common among cultists, reflecting the inherently dangerous nature of their allegiance. This duality of reward and punishment binds cultists ever tighter to their cause as they seek to gain more favor while avoiding the consequences of failure. Another defining aspect of chaos cults is their ability to exploit human emotions and desires. Chaos feeds on the raw emotions of mortals: anger, fear, hope, and despair, and cults are experts at amplifying these feelings. They prey on the discontent of the oppressed, the ambition of the power-hungry, and the desperation of the hopeless. By offering solutions to these emotional needs, they draw people into their web, gradually introducing them to the darker truths of chaos. This psychological manipulation is one of the cult's most powerful tools, enabling them to grow their ranks with alarming efficiency. Chaos cults also possess a distinct approach to warfare, shaped by their chaotic nature and lack of formal military training. Their tactics are often unconventional and unpredictable, relying on guerrilla warfare, sabotage, and terror rather than direct confrontation. Cultists use their knowledge of local terrain and infrastructure to outmaneuver Imperial forces, launching surprise attacks and disappearing before a counterattack can be organized. Their willingness to sacrifice lives in the name of their gods makes them formidable foes, as they fight with a ferocity and zeal that Imperial troops find difficult to match. The symbolism and iconography of Chaos cults are another unique feature. Each cult develops its own symbols, banners, and rituals, often drawing on the themes of their patron god. These symbols serve as both identifiers and sources of inspiration, uniting members under a shared vision. For followers of Tzeentch, this might take the form of intricate patterns and sigils. For devotees of Nurgle, the symbols of decay and rebirth dominate. These elements not only reinforce the cult's identity, but also create an atmosphere of mystique and fear, making them more appealing to potential recruits. Finally, Chaos cults stand apart in their capacity to create lasting legacies, even in defeat. Unlike other heretical groups whose influence fades once they are destroyed, Chaos cults often leave behind physical and spiritual remnants that continue to plague the Imperium. Warp-tainted artifacts, corrupted landscapes, and lingering demonic infestations are common consequences of their activities. Even the memory of their actions can inspire future rebellions, as their defiance against the Imperium resonates with those who feel similarly oppressed. This enduring impact ensures that Chaos cults remain a threat long after their apparent destruction. These unique aspects make Chaos cults one of the most dangerous and resilient forces within the galaxy. Their ability to adapt, manipulate, and endure ensures that they will always find a way to spread the influence of the ruinous powers, no matter how many times the Imperium attempts to crush them. Throughout the history of the galaxy, Chaos cults have been led and influenced by figures of immense charisma, cunning, and corruption. These individuals, often the driving force behind their cults, become legends in their own right, symbols of the power and allure of the ruinous powers. Whether they rise as charismatic leaders, fearsome warriors, or insidious manipulators, these personalities leave a lasting impact on the worlds and societies they corrupt. One such figure is Azelia Vorn, a noblewoman from the hive world of Vratha Secundus, who turned her wealth and influence into a weapon for chaos. Initially seen as a progressive reformer advocating for workers' rights, Vorn's true allegiance lay with Tzeentch, the changer of ways. Her charity organizations funneled resources to her cult, which spread like wildfire among the oppressed lower classes. Vorn orchestrated a series of insurrections that paralyzed Vratha Secundus, culminating in the summoning of a demon host that ravaged the planet's leadership. Her cunning manipulation of imperial systems made her a symbol of how chaos can thrive, even in the highest echelons of society. Another infamous figure is Gorthak Bloodtide, a brutal warlord whose rise from a hive-ganger to a champion of Khorne became a tale of terror. Gorthak began as the leader of a vicious gang in the underhive of Mordaxus, but his unquenchable thirst for bloodshed drew the attention of the Blood God. Empowered by dark blessings, Gorthak united rival gangs under his banner, turning the hive city into a war zone. His cult, the Crimson Pact, performed ritualistic slaughters in Khorne's name, summoning demonic allies to aid their cause. Even after Gorthak's death in battle against the Adeptus Arbites, his legend lived on, inspiring other cults to emulate his path of carnage. The story of Eris Velarn, the so-called Siren of the Void, exemplifies the seductive power of Slaanesh. Velarn was a renowned performer aboard a luxurious void ship, captivating audiences across countless worlds with her ethereal voice. Behind her public persona, however, Velarn was the leader of a Slaanesh cult known as the Song of Excess. Her performances were laced with subliminal warp-infused harmonics, driving her listeners into frenzies of hedonistic indulgence. Entire planetary elites fell under her sway, their debauchery spreading chaos's influence unchecked. Valarn's downfall came when an Inquisitor recognized the taint in her voice, leading to a bloody purge aboard her ship. Among the most insidious figures linked to Chaos cults is Drellis Vantor, a rogue psyker who became the dark heart of the Whispered Truth cult. Born on a backwater world, Vantor's latent psychic abilities made him a target for both the Imperium and Chaos. Tzeentch, ever the manipulator, whispered promises of power and safety, guiding him to form a cult that infiltrated the planet's leadership. Vantor's psychic abilities allowed him to foresee and counter Imperial actions, enabling his cult to destabilize entire regions. His eventual demise at the hands of the Grey Knights did little to stem the cult's influence, as his followers scattered and continued his work in his name. Kari Voth, the Plague Shepherd, stands as a grim example of Nurgle's corrupting touch. Once a healer in a remote agri-world community, Voth's descent into heresy began when she encountered a mysterious, rotting figure claiming to offer a cure for the suffering of her people. Embracing Nurgle's blessings, Voth transformed her healing practice into a cult of disease worship. Her followers spread plagues in the name of the Plague Father, offering salvation through infection and decay. Even when Imperial forces finally burned her settlement to the ground, the plague she unleashed continued to spread, claiming millions of lives across nearby systems. Another notable figure is Zarathin Callus, a former ecclesiarchal priest who became a zealot of chaos after discovering forbidden texts in a forgotten shrine. Callus's charismatic sermons twisted the teachings of the Emperor, blending them with doctrines of chaos to create a heretical faith that ensnared entire congregations. His cult, known as the Shadowed Choir, preached that true salvation lay in embracing the Chaos Gods as divine aspects of humanity's potential. Callus's ability to blend truth with heresy made him an incredibly dangerous figure, as even devout Imperial citizens found themselves drawn to his words. His eventual capture and execution only served to martyr him, inspiring new generations of cultists. The Shard Caller, an enigmatic figure of uncertain origin, is another notorious leader of a chaos cult. Known only by this moniker, the Shard Caller is believed to be an agent of Slaanesh who operates among the void-born populations of Imperial fleets. The cult under their control specializes in smuggling warp-tainted artifacts and substances into Imperial trade networks, spreading corruption far and wide. The Shardcaller's true identity remains a mystery, as their cult operates in cells that rarely interact, ensuring that even the capture of a cell leader reveals little about the greater network. Varric the Unbound, a heretic aligned with the Dark Mechanicum, serves as an example of how chaos cults intersect with technological corruption. Once a loyal magos of the Adeptus Mechanicus, Varric's experiments with warp-infused machines led him to heresy. His cult, the Iron Ascendants, fused human and machine into grotesque warp-powered constructs. These abominations wreaked havoc on Forge World Absalom IV before an extermination fleet eradicated the cult. However, the data looms carrying Varric's corrupted schematics survived, continuing to spread his dark legacy. These individuals represent the diversity and adaptability of chaos cults, as well as the extraordinary danger they pose to the Imperium. Each figure, through their unique talents and dark patronage, becomes a focal point for heresy, inspiring others to follow the path of chaos. Their stories serve as grim reminders that the influence of the ruinous powers can manifest in countless ways through individuals from every walk of life. Even in death, their legacies endure, ensuring that the seeds of chaos they planted continue to grow and threaten the galaxy. Chaos cults are shrouded in layers of secrecy and mystery, their activities and origins often incomprehensible even to those who hunt them. The clandestine nature of their operations, coupled with the arcane and often nonsensical logic of the ruinous powers, makes uncovering their secrets a near impossible task. However, what is known or suspected about these cults paints a picture of corruption so profound that it threatens to unravel the fabric of reality itself. One of the most unsettling aspects of chaos cults is their ability to operate undetected for generations, even within highly regulated environments. This secrecy is maintained through elaborate systems of compartmentalization and coded communication. Cult members often know little beyond their immediate circle, with leaders employing cryptic symbols, disguised messages, and subtle gestures to relay orders. These methods make it difficult for imperial authorities to piece together the full scope of a cult's activities. Even when a cell is exposed, the larger organization often remains intact, continuing its operations from the shadows. The origin of many chaos cults is a mystery, even to their own members. While some arise from deliberate acts of heresy, others seem to coalesce spontaneously, as if willed into existence by the warp itself. In certain cases, individuals report experiencing vivid dreams or visions that compel them to form a cult, their minds filled with knowledge they could not possibly possess. Whether these visions are sent directly by the chaos gods or are the result of prolonged exposure to warp-tainted environments remains unknown. What is clear is that these cults often spring up in places where the influence of chaos was thought to be non-existent, catching the Imperium off guard. Another enigma is the ability of chaos cults to transcend physical and temporal boundaries. There are records of cults re-emerging centuries after their supposed eradication, with new members inexplicably aware of the original group's doctrines and rituals. In some cases, cults appear to share a collective memory or hive-like consciousness, as if guided by an unseen hand. This phenomenon suggests that the cults are more than mere human organizations, functioning instead as extensions of the Chaos God's will, existing beyond conventional limitations of time and space. The artifacts and relics used by Chaos cults are another source of intrigue. Many cults possess objects of immense power, ranging from warp-infused weapons to seemingly mundane items capable of extraordinary feats. These artifacts often defy rational explanation, their origins obscured by millennia of war and decay. Some are believed to be remnants of the dark age of technology, corrupted by the warp, while others may be gifts from the Chaos Gods themselves. The full capabilities of these items are rarely understood, even by those who wield them, adding an element of unpredictability to the cult's actions. Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Chaos cults is their ultimate purpose. While their immediate goals, overthrowing imperial authority, summoning demons, or spreading corruption, are often clear, the larger agenda they serve remains elusive. The Chaos Gods are known for their inscrutable nature, and their plans often appear contradictory or nonsensical to mortal minds. Some theorize that the cult's actions are part of a grander scheme, a cosmic game played by the gods to further their influence in the material realm. Others believe that the cults are simply tools of destruction, meant to sow discord and weaken the Imperium without any cohesive strategy. The mechanisms of recruitment and indoctrination employed by chaos cults are also shrouded in mystery. While some rely on traditional methods of persuasion and manipulation, others seem to exert an almost supernatural influence over potential recruits. There are accounts of individuals joining cults after encountering nothing more than a strange symbol or hearing a single whispered phrase. This suggests that the warp itself plays a role in drawing people into the fold, bypassing conventional methods of communication and appealing directly to the subconscious. The rituals conducted by chaos cults are another source of intrigue and horror. Many of these ceremonies involve acts of violence, depravity, or sacrifice that defy comprehension, yet they consistently produce tangible results. The exact mechanisms by which these rituals channel warp energy remain unknown, as their workings are inherently chaotic and unpredictable. Even captured cultists are often unable to explain the logic behind their actions, claiming that they simply followed the will of their gods. This lack of understanding makes it nearly impossible for the Imperium to counteract these rituals effectively, as each one operates on entirely different principles. One of the most chilling secrets of chaos cults is their connection to hidden warp phenomena. In many cases, cults seem to be drawn to specific locations where the boundaries between reality and the warp are thin. These sites, often referred to as warp nexuses or tainted zones, act as focal points for demonic activity and corruption. Some scholars believe that the cults are mere pawns, manipulated by these phenomena to serve as conduits for the warp's influence. Others suggest that the cults deliberately seek out these places, using them to amplify their power and bring the chaos gods closer to the material plane. The longevity and persistence of certain cults is another baffling aspect. There are documented cases of cults that have existed for thousands of years, surviving countless purges and outlasting the lifetimes of their original members. In some instances, these cults seem to regenerate after being destroyed, as if the essence of the group cannot be eradicated. This has led to speculation that some cults are bound to the warp itself, their existence perpetuated by the chaos gods regardless of mortal intervention. Finally, the role of demonic influence in chaos cults remains one of their most closely guarded secrets. While many cults openly worship demons, others operate under the illusion that they are serving a higher purpose unrelated to chaos. These cults often attract well-meaning individuals who believe they are fighting for freedom or justice, only to discover too late that they have been manipulated into serving the ruinous powers. This subtlety makes demonic influence one of the most dangerous aspects of chaos cults, as it allows them to infiltrate even the most vigilant societies undetected. The secrets of chaos cults are as vast and incomprehensible as the warp itself, ensuring that they remain a persistent and enigmatic threat to the galaxy. Even the most thorough investigations by the Inquisition often raise more questions than they answer, leaving the Imperium to grapple with an enemy it cannot fully understand. These mysteries serve as a reminder of the unfathomable nature of chaos, a force that defies logic and thrives on the unknown. The story of chaos cults is one of perpetual defiance and insidious corruption. Despite the Imperium's relentless purges and the countless resources dedicated to their eradication, these heretical groups persist, spreading the influence of the ruinous powers across the galaxy. Their existence is a grim testament to the Imperium's fragility, a mirror reflecting its greatest flaws, its oppression, its inefficiencies, and its inability to address the suffering of its people. The fight against chaos cults is not merely a military struggle, it is a battle for the soul of humanity. At their core, chaos cults embody the eternal conflict between order and entropy, faith and heresy, hope and despair. They thrive in the cracks of the Imperium, exploiting its weaknesses and challenging its dogma. For every cult eradicated, another rises from the ashes, fed by the endless cycle of discontent, fear, and ambition. Their adaptability ensures they remain a persistent threat, always shifting their methods, identities, and allegiances to evade destruction. Yet, the persistence of chaos cults is more than a reflection of mortal weakness. It is a manifestation of the warp itself. The chaos gods, eternal and ever-changing, find new ways to reach into the material realm through their mortal servants. Each cult, no matter how small or short-lived, contributes to the greater schemes of these malevolent entities. Even in defeat, the seeds of chaos are sown, waiting for the right conditions to bloom once more. The impact of chaos cults reverberates far beyond their immediate actions. Worlds scarred by their influence bear the weight of their corruption for generations. Cities lie in ruins, populations are left fractured and distrustful, and entire sectors are destabilized. The psychological toll on survivors, the taint of the warp on landscapes, and the lingering legacy of their ideologies ensure that chaos cults leave a mark that is not easily erased. For the Imperium, the fight against chaos cults is both a necessity and a paradox. The harsh measures required to suppress these heresies, censorship, purges, and repression, often serve to create the very conditions that allow new cults to arise. The brutal enforcement of the imperial creed, the crushing weight of tithes, and the neglect of entire populations fuel the resentment and desperation that chaos exploits. In this way, the Imperium's victories are often bittersweet, as each triumph carries the seeds of future rebellion. In the broader context of the galaxy, chaos cults are a reminder of the power of belief and the dangers of unchecked ambition. They demonstrate that even the most rigid structures can be undermined by the passions of individuals and the whispers of the warp. Their existence is both a warning and a challenge, a call to vigilance and an acknowledgement of humanity's vulnerability to its own darker impulses. The tale of chaos cults has no definitive ending. They are not a finite enemy that can be defeated once and for all, but a recurring phenomenon, as eternal as the chaos gods themselves. Each generation of cultists writes a new chapter in this story, and each victory against them is but a temporary reprieve. The Imperium's struggle against chaos cults is, in many ways, a microcosm of its fight for survival in an uncaring and hostile universe, a fight that is as endless as it is essential. As long as the warp exists and humanity's flaws persist, chaos cults will remain a shadowy and ever-present threat. They are the embodiment of the Imperium's greatest fears, the reflection of its deepest flaws, and the harbingers of its potential downfall. In this unending battle, the Imperium must strive to hold the line, knowing that every cult destroyed, every rebellion crushed, and every heresy purged buys a fleeting moment of hope in the darkness of the 41st millennium.